20. The troops were lined up and ready, their helmets back on and properly secured, their weapons cocked, primed, fully loaded, and hungry for action. A silence descended upon the troops, bordered by the buzz of the force fields and the snarling tumult of the fighting aliens between them and the entrance to the Blacks' monolithic hive. Kozlowski could feel their tension. Or was it just her own tension multiplied by 25? This was going to be the make or break of the mission. Thankfully, the ranks of the bugs had thinned somewhat. Whether many of them had simply been killed or crawled into holes somewhere, she didn't know. She just hoped they hadn't gone into the hive. She tongued her comm. "Troops ready." The bounce back from Control Central. "All set here." O'Connor's brogue. "Sergeant Argento?" She looked back to where the sergeant sat, behind his banks of big weapons. "Guns are sighted and ready," said Argento, fingers playing expertly across the controls. "I don't see a more optimum time." Kozlowski looked up. She could have wished for more light. The clouds had closed back up tight. Oh well, it didn't really matter that much. They had a good 5 hours till darkness. That would be more than enough time. "Right," came O'Connor's voice, "opening force field apertures." Kozlowski looked up towards the top of the force field. The field looked like a thin, wavering skein of gray normally. It would open just there. A wide hole sphinctered, and Argento wasted no time. The big guns thundered. The many-millimetered shells sailed out perfectly, hammering onto the landscape. Whole clusters of bugs were destroyed, even more thrown back in the explosions. More shells, differently directed, hammered out of the guns, exploded on the landscape. When the smoke cleared, Kozlowski saw that a wide swath had been cleared. A trail of craters lay in the valley that led up to the opening of the hive. "Harpoon away!" called O'Connor. The appropriately aimed gun on the side of the lander thumped. Amid an explosion of gases, the harpoon launched. It sailed over their heads swiftly and majestically, trailing its cable like a kite caught in a gale. It threaded the hole in the force field easily and whooshed towards its target. Even back here, many meters away, Kozlowski could hear the large harpoon thunk into place, burying itself in the ground right on target. A hearty hurrah sounded from the troops. "We have a successful landing," chirped O'Connor's voice. "Prepare for perimeter extension." The troops grew quiet. Kozlowski braced herself, getting her rifle ready. Theoretically, when O'Connor pushed the right combination of switches and levers, the force field would move out like an arcing gate, only expanding as it did so, whacking all bugs en route. However, in the activity, there was always the possibility that one of the aliens would slip through unharmed. That alien would have to be dealt with immediately. Hence, the preparedness of the troops. She could see the force field flicker erratically as it moved. "Take it a little slower," she instructed. "Can't," replied O'Connor. With a whoosh, the force field was pattering out and then snap was in place, leaving behind a scattered handful of aliens in various states of despair and shock. "Kill him," said Kozlowski. The troops moved forward, bullets and plasma leaping out to smack into the survivors. It was all over in a matter of moments. Bug pieces scattered to the winds of destruction, and the force fields were buzzing away, the tunnel within easy striking distance. Yes! Private Ellis's fist smote the air. Cheers broke out among them all as they broke ranks, and several broke out and headed deeper into the newly taken territory. "Wait a minute, you assholes!" screeched Kozlowski. "I didn't order you!" The force field wavered. The troops all stopped in their tracks. Kozlowski could feel something wrong before she saw anything. But when she saw it, what was wrong was pretty obvious. The newly planted harpoon was starting to list. What the hell? Shit, what's going on? Oh my God, we couldn't see it when it struck. The thing landed on a couple of intact bugs. That was the only explanation and the veracity of it, and its implications swept through Kozlowski like electricity. "Fall back!" she cried. The alien acid must be eating through the base. The upright harpoon shifted more, and the force field flickered again. Then the thing toppled, its extended antenna breaking up. The southern force field went down. For a terrible moment, she felt like an EVA astronaut with her suit ripped off. "Get back to the original lines!" she screamed. At first, the surrounding bugs didn't seem to notice, but then, with the damnable speed of their breed, they perceived that the strange, almost invisible wall that had kept them from new prey had evaporated. A few tentatively began to straggle toward the troops. The soldiers who had gone the farthest out turned to run back. The aliens coming through seemed to sense their fear. They loped forward in the attack. "Cover them!" screamed Kozlowski. She fired a volley as close to the troops as she dared, catching a couple of the bugs in their thoraxes, stopping them cold. But others took their places. "Okay," she said after chinning her calm. "They're past the original wall. Get that back up." "Trying," said O'Connor. "Something's short-circuited." "Do it, damn it!" "Argento," said O'Connor. "Get that other harpoon off. That will do the trick." By this time, Kozlowski had her hands too full to make commands, let alone comments. The bugs were starting to come in, not the whole horde, thank God, or they'd be as good as dead. She started blasting, just hoping her people had the sense to come in and out of the storm. "Shit!" said Daniel Grant. He pounded his hand hard against a bulkhead. "Shit, shit, shit!" "Steady, Mr. Grant," said Dr. Bagali. "I'm sure they've got alternative plans. Yes?" O'Connor was leaning forward, stabbing at the controls. "God damn it, Argento! Fire the thing, manually!" A voice crackled over the radio. Can't find an opening. The things are swarming back into the crater." "Then make an opening," said O'Connor. "That's what you got the starboard gun for. Blow 'em off." Grant watched disbelievingly. Without a hitch. Falling apart right before his eyes. If those troopers came out of this one without a casualty, it would be a miracle. The point man, the one farthest out, had to turn and blast with his weapons. Grant watched with helpless horror as a bug scuttled up the backs of two of its fellows and leapt high into the air, landing directly on the man's back. The soldier fought. Grant had never seen such a fight. Even though suddenly the aliens were all around him, like ants around a lump of sugar, they quaked and blew apart from the plasma blaster. Then the havoc there stilled, and Grant could see the things scrambling away, carrying bloody bits of suit and pieces of the soldier like trophies. He had to turn away, without a hitch. He'd never before seen his optimism turn to sewage right before his eyes. His stomach turned, and he felt as though he was going to throw up. He contained himself, though. He reached down deep for strength, Found it. Hell with the perimeter. Just have him blast those things. Cover the retreat. I'm sure Gento is doing what he can. Look, can you get at least a partial up? Use what you got, man. Give them some time. He'd come light years with these people, eaten with them, come to respect them in an odd but compelling way, and now they were being torn apart before his eyes. O'Connor nodded. I can try, sir. I can try. Sergeant Argento cursed. How the hell was he going to kill all these bugs alone? Should he start blasting like O'Connor seemed to want? Or should he clear out a crater and send off a harpoon? He decided to do both. He blasted away with all the guns, making sure he didn't hit any of the troops. The shells streaked out, scattering whole swaths of bugs and making craters. Not exactly as far as they would like, not as close to the entrance of the hive as they needed, but it would have to do. He sent off another volley. Excellent. It was giving the troops a fighting chance. He swiveled the gun slightly to the right, concentrated on aiming, and then heard the hissing. Damn. He reached down for his hand weapon and spun around, but it was too late. The bug jumped down from the hull of the anteater like a spider pouncing on its prey. Its secondary set of jaws rammed through Argento's neck, speckling his guns with rich arterial blood. They were moving back. She'd watched Rodriguez go down bravely and well, taking a lot of bugs with him and maybe giving them a second or two extra to retreat. No time to grieve now, Kozlowski knew. It was time to fight, and she'd never fought quite like this before in her life. Her rifle was discharging so quickly she could feel the heat come off the thing even through the gloves of her suit. With skill and precision she didn't know she had, she slammed away at the monsters, blowing them apart as fast as they came at her. The thing was, she didn't have to think about what she was doing. It was all coming automatically. Because of these suits, the acid splatter factor was not significant. She didn't have to aim at the knees and then finish with their heads. She could just keep the rifle level and rip off fire at precisely the moment her instincts and skill dictated. All the rest of the soldiers seemed to be doing equally well. The aliens were going down in huge numbers. The problem was that their numbers kept on getting replenished. Sensing something on her peripheral vision, she wheeled around and found one of the bugs almost on top of her, its gooey saliva dripping as though in preparation for a feast. She fed it a blast of plasma. The thing's head lifted up off its neck in a gout of fire and flipped back like some obscene rocket aborting in its takeoff. She ripped off another round of fire to give herself some breathing room and then took stock of the situation. They'd all made it back to within the original perimeter. All but one. Private Jastro was just outside the area, his rifle blasting away. "Jastro!" she said. "Step back, damn it! Step back so we can put the field on!" The man's radio apparently was not working. He did not respond. He just kept firing away at the things. She was going to have to go out there and drag him back in. Damn it! She started wading through the pileup of dead bugs, firing away, then stopped dead as she looked back in the direction she was going. The bugs covered Jastro. One was blasted away, but another took its place. The radio screeched, "Alice! Alice! I need some backup! Alice!" There was a muffled scream signaling the end of a jazzman's military career. "Argento, start pounding the perimeter wall!" Kozlowski radioed. No response. What had happened to the guns, damn it? What was going on? Argento! Push them back with the guns! Another voice on the radio. Argento's down, Colonel. There's a bug up there. Shit! Only one recourse now. O'Connor! Reactivate the southern wall, ASAP! Another bug charged her, dripping with human blood. For some reason, Daniel Grant could not take his eyes off the gory demise of Private Jastrow. He was stricken by grief, an unfamiliar emotion. He'd actually liked Jastrow, he suddenly realized. He hadn't realized before that he could like somebody. That concept just didn't seem appropriate to the kind of businessman he was. He felt helpless. If only he could do something. Then he heard Colonel Kozlowski's command come in. At least she was still alive. "Will do, Colonel," said O'Connor. "I've got the thing rerouted, and I think it's possible." No more from the Colonel. Grant watched as she swiveled and her plasma rifle shredded an approaching alien. O'Connor leaned forward, hand outstretched toward the switch that would affect the renewal of the force field. Dr. Bagali reached forward and stopped him. "Wait!" he said. "Wait my ass! What's going on?" said Grant. "More and more of those things are starting to notice the breach. You've got to close it up. Lives are being lost down there." O'Connor reached for the switch again. Bagali said, "No!" Grant stood up and pulled Bagali back. "What are you trying to do, Doctor?" But O'Connor paused as well. "He's right." "Right? What are you talking about?" "Marines," said O'Connor through his headset. "Get someone up on those guns." "What are you doing?" demanded Grant. "Dr. Bagali's right, Mr. Grant. There are too many of those bastards down there. Only thing that's going to kick them out is that gun array. First off, there's going to have to be some place to go to. Second place, using those guns with the force field up full is damn dangerous to the lander. That's what Dr. Bagali means." Bagali looked furtive about the whole thing. Yes, of course. That's what I mean." "Does the Colonel know that?" "Yes, sir," said O'Connor. "They all know that." When she killed the alien that almost got her, Kozlowski didn't have time to enjoy its death throes. "Get that bug off those guns! Get 'em going again, damn it, or we're cooked!" she said, surveying the situation. "Private Mahoney! You're the closest! Do it, damn it!" "But, sir," Mahoney was on one knee, spraying charging bugs, keeping them at bay. "We'll keep them at bay! Do it!" A pause, and then Private Mahoney was up. She sidled on, and Kozlowski got a look at her face through the mottled faceplate. She looked uncertain and scared. "Mahoney, that Xeno squatting up there by the guns looks an awful lot like that old boyfriend of yours, doesn't he?" "Yes, sir, he kinda does." Immediately, the private began to hustle. She moved up the steps on the side of the lander. The alien hunkered over the remains of Argento. It hissed at her, wobbling like a spider guarding its prey. "Don't let it bleed on the guns, Private." 2 steps forward. The private dropped to the steps, avoiding a lunge from the alien, brought her plasma rifle up at just the right angle, fired. The force of the fiery discharge impacted on the thing's torso, pushing it over the edge, even as the blast cindered it. The thing wilted to the ground and dropped, a flaming husk, not even giving a good heartfelt spasm. "Good show, Mahoney. Now you think you can fire those guns?" "Yes, sir." The private clambered up the stairs and over the body of Argento. "They're all starting to look like somebody's boyfriend." She jumped into the seat. Immediately, the gun started to swivel, pointing downward at the bugs already inside the force field and those still crawling through. They spoke. The shells came hot and heavy. and well placed. "Okay, guys, let's get out of the rain before we get blown up as well," said the colonel, motioning an alley and come free. The troops seemed all too happy to obey, retreating and contributing their own fire. The result was a rout between their concentrated wall of blasts and the powerful guns above them. Those aliens not smart enough to retreat through the opening of the force field were obliterated. Soon, all that moved among their ruins was smoke. "Okay, O'Connor, give it a try now." The force field shimmered back into place. "Okay, people," Kozlowski said. "Fan out and finish off any still alive." She sighed. "Then we can count our dead."